1. The legendary parody. What happens when a joke becomes more beloved than the original? Galaxy Quest wasn't supposed to be anything special, just another Hollywood cash grab, mocking the sci-fi shows that nerds worshipped. But something insane happened along the way. This parody didn't just succeed, it obliterated the very franchise it was making fun of. For years, Galaxy Quest held a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than every single official Star Trek movie. Yes, even The Wrath of Khan. Let that sink in for a second. A film about washed-up actors pretending to be space heroes was ranked higher than the most sacred entries in sci-fi history. Critics didn't just laugh, they called it brilliant. Fans didn't just enjoy it, they worshipped it. And the Star Trek actors themselves? They admitted this fake show captured something real that their own movies had lost. But the road to becoming legendary was paved with chaos, censorship, and one very angry British actor who almost walked away from it all. Chuntu. The F-bomb that almost killed Christmas before Galaxy Quest became the family favorite we know today. It was heading straight for an R rating, and DreamWorks was having nightmares. The original cut was rougher, darker, and absolutely loaded with profanity. Tim Allen was swearing like a truck driver. Sigourney Weaver was dropping bombs left and right. And in that infamous Chompers scene, where her character finally loses it in the deadly hallway, Weaver delivered what would become the most talked-about censorship moment in sci-fi comedy history. You can still see it if you watch closely. Her lips clearly form the words, "Well, fact that," but what you hear is a choppy, obviously dubbed, "Well, screw that."
Screw that!
The studio had panicked hard. They saw dollar signs in holiday box office, but only if kids could drag their parents to theaters, so they slashed, trimmed, and re-edited the soul out of scenes. Weaver fought back like her career depended on it. She knew that unhinged breakdown wasn't just comedy gold, it was the heart of her character's entire arc. A woman finally snapping after years of being reduced to a talking computer. The battle over that single line nearly tore the production apart, but Weaver refused to let them sanitize her moment of cathartic rage. What nobody expected was how this censorship disaster would accidentally create something even more powerful than the original vision. But the real drama was just beginning behind the cameras. 3. The chaos Tim Allen created. While fans were laughing at the fictional crew's dysfunction, the real chaos was happening off-screen, and Tim Allen was at the center of it all. Fresh revelations from 2025 exposed just how much Allen's behavior nearly destroyed the entire production. Alan Rickman, the consummate professional who treated every role like Shakespeare, found himself driven to absolute distraction by his co-star's antics. Alan's past was already messy. The drug possession arrests, the time in prison, the rehabilitation that Hollywood quietly swept under the rug. But on the Galaxy Quest set, those old habits and that chaotic energy created a perfect storm. Rickman later confided to friends that working with Allen was like trying to perform Hamlet while someone was setting off firecrackers backstage. The British actor's patience, legendary among directors, was tested to its breaking point daily. Allen would improvise wildly, break character mid-scene, and turn serious dramatic moments into comedy routines. What looked like natural chemistry on screen was actually the result of Rickman's incredible professionalism, holding everything together, while Allen's unpredictable energy threatened to derail every take. The tension got so bad that Rickman seriously considered walking away from the project entirely. Only his respect for the script and his commitment to the character of Dr. Lazarus kept him from abandoning ship. 4. The casting gamble that saved everything. The Galaxy Quest we know almost never happened, and the casting decisions that made it legendary were pure accidents wrapped in Hollywood chaos. Harold Ramis, the genius behind Ghostbusters, was originally set to direct with a completely different vision. His dream cast? Alec Baldwin as the arrogant Captain Nesmith, bringing his trademark intensity to the role. Kevin Kline or Steve Martin as the tortured Dr. Lazarus, turning the character into pure comedic gold. It would have been a very different beast, leaning heavily into slapstick rather than the heartfelt tribute we got. But timing, that cruel master of Hollywood dreams, had other plans. When Ramis departed, the casting doors flew wide open. Justin Long was a nobody, going up against established teen movie stars like Kieran Culkin and Tom Everett Scott. DreamWorks wanted the safe bet, the recognizable face that would sell tickets. But Long brought something you can't manufacture: genuine fanboy enthusiasm. He wasn't acting like a superfan. He was one. That raw, unfiltered geek energy won over the room and launched his career. Meanwhile, Sam Rockwell showed up and basically rewrote his entire character through pure improvisation. Guy Fleegman was supposed to be a throwaway, a red shirt destined for quick death. Instead, Rockwell turned him into the neurotic heart of the film, improvising the "I'm gonna die" panic that became iconic. Director Dean Parisot saw magic happening and just let the cameras roll. What started as calculated casting choices became lightning in a bottle. But the real test came when the very people they were mocking got to see what had been created. 5. When the gods of Trek bowed down. The most shocking twist in Galaxy Quest's story wasn't in the script. It was watching the Star Trek legends themselves fall in love with the film that ruthlessly mocked everything they'd built. Sir Patrick Stewart's reaction was brutal honesty at its finest. When he first heard about Galaxy Quest, he rolled his eyes so hard they nearly fell out of his head. Another cheap knockoff trying to profit off their legacy? Please. But then he actually watched it, and something incredible happened. The man who embodied Captain Picard started laughing, then crying, then calling it brilliant. Stewart later admitted the film hit too close to home, capturing truths about their experience that even official Trek movies missed. Will Wheaton, who lived the convention circuit as Wesley Crusher, went even further. He declared Galaxy Quest the most accurate Star Trek movie ever made, praising how it nailed the bizarre relationship between actors and obsessive fans. Jonathan Frakes, Leonard Nimoy, even William Shatner himself. One by one, the Trek royalty lined up to praise the parody that understood them better than their own franchise. These weren't just polite Hollywood endorsements. These were confessions. Admissions that this fake show had captured something real that the official films had lost somewhere between studio notes and box office calculations. The student had become the master, and the masters were humble enough to admit it. 6. The marketing disaster that almost killed everything. Here's the thing about Hollywood. Sometimes the biggest threat to a great movie isn't bad reviews or competition, it's the studio's own marketing department having a complete meltdown. Jeffrey Katzenberg, one of the most powerful executives in the business, eventually had to issue a public apology for how catastrophically DreamWorks bungled Galaxy Quest's campaign. The marketing team had no clue what they were selling. Was it a kids' movie? A sci-fi action film? A comedy for Trek fans? Their confusion created ads that satisfied nobody and excited no one. TV spots made it look like a generic space adventure. Posters buried the comedy elements. The trailer focused on explosions instead of the brilliant character work that made the film special. Even worse, they scheduled it against massive holiday blockbusters, essentially sending their own movie into a battle it couldn't win. Test audiences loved what they saw, but the general public had no idea why they should care about another space movie. The disconnect was so severe that industry insiders started whispering about DreamWorks losing their touch. Katzenberg's eventual apology wasn't just corporate damage control, it was an admission that they'd nearly killed a masterpiece through sheer incompetence. Only word of mouth and critical acclaim saved Galaxy Quest from becoming a cautionary tale about great films destroyed by terrible marketing. The movie succeeded despite its own studio, proving that sometimes true quality finds its audience no matter how badly the suits screw things up. But just when everything seemed perfect, tragedy struck in the most unexpected way. 7. The sequel that died with a legend. By the mid-2010s, the impossible was happening. Amazon had greenlit Galaxy Quest 2. The entire original cast was on board. Scripts were written, excitement was building, and fans were finally going to get the sequel they'd been begging for since 1999. Tim Allen was ready to captain the ship again. Sigourney Weaver was prepared for more alien chaos. Sam Rockwell couldn't wait to explore Guy Fleegman's newfound confidence. The Thermians were set to return with new cosmic threats. Everything was falling into place for what could have been the perfect sequel, a follow-up that understood what made the original special. Then January 14, 2016 changed everything forever. Alan Rickman, the beating heart of Galaxy Quest, The tortured actor who brought Shakespearean dignity to Dr. Lazarus was gone. The news hit Hollywood like a meteor strike, but for the Galaxy Quest family, it was the end of everything. Without hesitation, without even a board meeting, Amazon quietly shelved the project. Tim Allen later revealed the painful truth: we just couldn't do it without him. Because Rickman wasn't just another cast member. He was the soul of the entire story, the broken classical actor finding purpose through aliens and fans. His journey from bitter has-been to reluctant hero was the emotional core that made audiences care. Trying to replace him or write around his absence felt like sacrilege. The sequel that should have been became a memorial, and sometimes the most perfect ending is the one that never gets filmed. 8. The legacy that refuses to surrender. What started as a $45 million gamble became something Hollywood rarely achieves: immortality. Galaxy Quest didn't just make money, it created a universe that keeps expanding in the most unexpected ways. IDW Publishing launched official comic book sequels that picked up right where the movie ended, giving fans new adventures with the same heart and humor. The E! Network aired a mockumentary so convincing that casual viewers actually believed Galaxy Quest was a real canceled 80s show being rediscovered. The Thermian language became so detailed that linguists studied its structure. Convention circuits embraced Galaxy Quest panels with the same reverence as official Trek events. But the real testament to its power lies in what happened to science fiction itself. Modern space comedies like The Orville and Lower Decks exist because Galaxy Quest proved you could love and mock something simultaneously. It created a template for respectful parody that influenced an entire generation of creators. 25 years later, it still hasn't been topped. While official franchises struggle with reboots and sequels that disappoint, this one perfect film continues to grow in stature. It achieved what every movie dreams of but few accomplish. It became more than entertainment, it became essential. In a galaxy full of copycats and cash grabs, Galaxy Quest remains the gold standard. The parody that became more real than reality, the joke that became sacred, the fake show that captured something true about fandom, fame, and finding purpose in the most unlikely places. Never give up, never surrender, and never underestimate the power of a perfect story told with complete sincerity.